Thank you much again for the invitation to come and share with the association in Trinidad, as Health Professionals Association in Trinidad, as well as Tobago. Thank you again, Dr. Diet, for your warm introduction. So my presentation today is food for thought. And I want you to be able to talk back to me. In the Zoom environment, we tend to, we're not seeing each other. So I just want to make sure that you are still there with me. So I'm going to be asking you questions, and, I want you to feel free to if it is, put it in the chat or unmute your mic and just share with me, so that I don't feel as though I'm alone. Yes, I'm in Barbados and you are in Trinidad. Some persons are probably joining us from uh Tobago, but wherever you're joining us from, if you want to, please put in the chat where you're where you're joining from, so that I can have an idea of um, my audience, just a sneak peek. So our presentation today is food for thought. And so, like Dr. Diet said, you can have an idea of where I will be going with the presentation. And, just jot down your questions, feel free to share. Now, I'm going to begin with the text, Philippians chapter 2, verse 5, and it says, "Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus." So therefore, God wants us to have a mind of Him. He wants us to be like-minded, just like He was. And therefore, we have to, in our thoughts, by our words, and by our deeds, all of our actions, what we put into our bodies, because our bodies are the temple of God. Because our bodies are the temple of God, whatever food we put into our bodies, whatever music we listen to, whatever we read, conversations, everything needs to be of Him and to be Christ-like. And this is what God wants for us. So this is my dad. His name is Paul Greenidge. And my dad died on October the 5th last year, 2023. So I just still want to share a little bit about his diet, his personality, and you will see how it ties in to my presentation this evening, speaking about food for thoughts. Now, can anybody tell me? I was going to write his favorite foods, but I decided I will ask you, what do you think Daddy's favorite foods were? What was his favorite foods? Anybody? You can feel free at this time to unmute your mic and tell me what you think was Daddy's favorite food.
Right, plantain.
Plantain. Anything else?
Vegetables.
Vegetables. Yes. Anything else? There's a
Sweet
particular.
potato.
Yes. No, that is the one I was looking for. That is the one I was looking for. Daddy told me I must have sweet potato every single day. So every single day I had to provide uh sweet potato for Daddy. And he would bake that sweet potato. He loved baked sweet potato, but then as he got older, the textures of the food had to change a little. So then I would steam the sweet potato, I would crush it, and I would make it into like like how you would make cuckoo. So it was like a sweet potato cuckoo. So the food was soft or creamed. So that was one of his favorite foods. The other thing that he liked was oranges. So Daddy began his day with orange. So orange was that was his thing. Every single morning, Daddy began his day with orange. The next thing he did was he would have oats for breakfast in the morning. So his oats now, the elderly people, and I know this is how I actually have adapted, coming up and growing up in our home, Seventh-day Adventist home. Mommy and Daddy would prepare our oats this particular way. So this is how we had it. Cinnamon, and I know some of you probably do it like that. So you have grated nutmeg, you have grated cinnamon, you're gonna have bay leaf in the water, and then you're gonna add the oats. And what I realized is that he also would mix cornmeal with his oats. So I tried that recently and it came out really good. So that was something he would had. He would also have linseed. Um, and there's a reason I'm telling you all of this, and you're going to see it later on when we get to the end of the presentation. So linseed was something that he would always have in his meal as well. Let me see if I'm missing out anything. Bananas, banana. He would always have banana with his meal. So I think that was about everything, and peanut butter. And he would put peanut butter in his oatmeal. So that was Daddy's meal, and that started his day. Daddy is very cheerful. He loves to read. He used to read his Bible a lot, study his lesson. Um, as it relates to watching television, he will do that sometimes. And in his older years, that increased more. He loved to read the newspaper every day. So after he did his lesson, he would read the newspaper. So that was what he would have at the end of his morning routine. And then he continued then during his day, he would have his plantain and all of his ground foods and his peas and beans. So that was Daddy's presentation, Daddy's meal, as he put it together, because he used to cook for himself. But like I said, as he got older, when he started declining in his health, then I would be the one to prepare his meals, or my husband would do that for him. So that is a little bit about Daddy. Thank you so much for participating. Now, I just wanted to share with you the human brain anatomy. And we have the frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe, we have the peritoneal lobe, we have the optical lobe, and the temporal lobe. So these are the four main lobes of the body, and then we have the cerebellum, and we have the spinal cord. Now, the temporal lobe is a side of the brain where the temporal lobes are involved in short-term memory, speech, musical rhythm, and some degree of smell recognition. So all of that happens in the temporal lobe. And the optical lobe, you can actually guess that has to do with vision. And then we move on to the peritoneal lobe, and this helps with with objects, certain objects. It helps with the an understanding of spatial relationship with one's body. Is compared with other objects around it. Also, the peritoneal lobe is also involved in interpreting pain and touch in the body, and is also responsible for the brain understanding the spoken language, and that is usually in this area, Wernicke's area. And then we have the frontal lobe, which is involved in personality characteristics, decision making, and movement. This is the frontal lobe of the brain, and is a recognition of smell, usually involves parts of the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is also the Broca area, which is associated with speech ability, and this is also found in this particular area of the brain, and that is like the language center. So this is pretty much um, the anatomy of the brain as relates to the lobes, the four lobes of the brain. And there's a reason why I'm showing you this. Now, when we look at this, the frontal lobe side of animals versus humans, the cat has 3.5%, the dog has 7%, the chimpanzee has 17%, but humans, we have 33% because God has made us higher than the animals. So that is just a sneak peek. Now, when we are looking at performance and we want to fuel our body, we want to fuel, if you have a car, you're going to put gas in the car. And why will you put the gas in the car? Because one, you want peak performance. You want quality building materials. When they're building the car, they make sure that they use superior materials to build the car. the best quality fuel for its price. So you want the best food, the best fuel for the price. And you want to also enhance fuel efficiency and also increase the lifespan of the car. So you want the best for your car. Now, what do you think is the most overlooked cause of diminished mental power, depression, and anxiety? What do you think is the most overlooked cause of diminished mental power, depression, and anxiety? Anybody, you can unmute your mic at this time. Anyone?
Poor diet.
For diet, right? So it's really nutrition, because a lot of times we don't think about nutrition as being part of the nutrition as being part of the food or the particular source of help for to enhance the mental power. So nutrition is that one. Okay, my screen seems to be acting up. I don't know why he's doing like this. So let's me try to stop sharing for a minute and then share again and see if that would make a difference. Okay. Technology, these things happen. So just bear with me and give me a couple of minutes. Okay. So nutrition is that particular overlook cause to help with diminished mental power. Although the determinants of mental health are complex, the emerging and compelling evidence for nutrition as a critical factor in the high prevalence and incidence of mental disorders suggests that diet is as important to psychiatry as to the cardiology, endocrinology, or gastroenterology. We advocate recognition of diet and nutrition as mental health determinants of both physical and mental health. So we would have learned then and understand that nutrition is an important treatment for mental health. I work at the psychiatric hospital as well, and that is where by having to deal with mental health is my interest of mental health has peaked because my husband is a psychotherapist, but having to work on a day-to-day basis with clients. Hence the reason I decided to enhance my skills in more in nutrition psychiatry so that we can understand how the brain works. And there's a lot of evidence up there. There's a lot of new, research, and more the researchers are finding that there is a link to mental health and nutrition. So which of the following is the preferred fuel for the brain? So you can unmute your mic and let me know. Proteins, fats, fiber, carbohydrates, or ketones. Which of the following is the preferred fuel for the brain? I guess I have a very shy audience this evening. I am so the preferred fuel for the brain is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is the preferred fuel for the brain. Sugar for the brain and the role, this is a study that was done on the role of glucose in physiological and pathological brain function. The mammalian brain depends upon glucose as its main source of energy, and tight regulation of glucose metabolism is critical for brain physiology. Glucose is required to provide the precursors for the neurotransmitter synthesis and the ATP to fuel the actions as well as the brain's energy demands not relating to signaling. So this is a study that was done in trans neuroscience. So you have to understand now ATP. ATP is the most abundant energy carrying molecule in the body. It harnesses the chemical energy found in food molecules and then releases it to fuel the work in the cell. So we have the mitochondria, the cell, and when the glucose go into the cell, that is what gives us the energy. So ATP is really the currency that your body uses for fuel. So the food that you digest is made into smaller units of macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Carbohydrates convert to glucose, but your cell can't use the glucose. It has to convert to ATP. Glucose converted to APP is cellular respiration and metabolism. Energy from the food is converted into energy stored in ATP, and the cell uses this ATP to continue to maintain our health. So it is a very nice complex. Again, you know that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. This is another study that was done that looked at dietary sugar consumption and health. High dietary sugar consumption is generally more harmful than beneficial for health, especially in cardiometabolic disease. Reducing the consumption of free sugars or added sugars to below 25 grams a day, which is approximately 6 teaspoons a day, and limiting the consumption of sugar sweetened beverages to less than 1 serving per week are recommended to reduce the adverse effects of sugar on health. So when you think about high consumption of sugar, I sometimes when I'm going off, driving the street or early in the morning, you see kids with either a soda and they have a sweetened pastry. Um, and that is something that I know is evident in most places in the Caribbean as well as in the US of A, because sugar gives you that quick boost of energy, and hence the reason why most persons tend to lean towards that. So this is a a video that speaks to right. This is a video that speaks to sugar and its effects on the brain.
Picture warm, gooey cookies, crunchy candies, velvety cakes, waffle cones piled high with ice cream. Is your mouth watering? Are you craving dessert? Why? What happens in the brain that makes sugary foods so hard to resist? Sugar is a general term used to describe a class of molecules called carbohydrates, and it's found in a wide variety of food and drink. Just check the labels on sweet products you buy. Glucose, fructose, sucrose, maltose, lactose, dextrose, and starch are all forms of sugar. So are high fructose corn syrup, fruit juice, raw sugar, and honey. And sugar isn't just in candies and desserts. It's also added to tomato sauce, yogurt, dried fruit, flavored waters, or granola bars. Since sugar is everywhere, it's important to understand how it affects the brain. What happens when sugar hits your tongue? And does eating a little bit of sugar make you crave more? You take a bite of cereal. The sugars it contains activate the sweet taste receptors, part of the taste buds on the tongue. These receptors send a signal up to the brainstem, and from there it forks off into many areas of the forebrain, one of which is the cerebral cortex. Different sections of the cerebral cortex process different tastes: bitter, salty, umami, and in our case, sweet. From here, the signal activates the brain's reward system. This reward system is a series of electrical and chemical pathways across several different regions of the brain. It's a complicated network, but it helps answer a single subconscious question: should I do that again? That warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you taste grandma's chocolate cake? That's your reward system saying, yes. And it's not just activated by food. Socializing, sexual behavior, and drugs are just a few examples of things and experiences that also activate the reward system. But overactivating this reward system kickstarts a series of unfortunate events: loss of control, craving, and increased tolerance to sugar. Let's get back to our bite of cereal. It travels down into your stomach and eventually into your gut. And guess what? There are sugar receptors here too. They're not taste buds, but they do send signals telling your brain that you're full, or that your body should produce more insulin to deal with the extra sugar you're eating. The major currency of our reward system is dopamine, an important chemical or neurotransmitter. There are many dopamine receptors in the forebrain, but they're not evenly distributed. Certain areas contain dense clusters of receptors, and these dopamine hotspots are a part of our reward system. Drugs like alcohol, nicotine, or heroin send dopamine into overdrive, leading some people to constantly seek that high. In other words, to be addicted. Sugar also causes dopamine to be released, though not as violently as drugs. And sugar is rare among dopamine-inducing foods. Broccoli, for example, has no effect, which probably explains why it's so hard to get kids to eat their veggies. Speaking of healthy foods, let's say you're hungry and decide to eat a balanced meal. You do, and dopamine levels spike in the reward system hotspots. But if you eat that same dish many days in a row, dopamine levels will spike less and less, eventually leveling out. That's because when it comes to food, the brain evolved to pay special attention to new or different tastes. Why? Two reasons. First, to detect food that's gone bad. And second, because the more variety we have in our diet, the more likely we are to get all the nutrients we need. To keep that variety up, we need to be able to recognize a new food, and more importantly, we need to want to keep eating new foods. And that's why the dopamine levels off when a food becomes boring. Now back to that meal. What happens if in place of the healthy balanced dish, you eat sugar-rich food instead? If you rarely eat sugar, or don't eat much at a time, the effect is similar to that of the balanced meal. But if you eat too much, the dopamine response does not level out. In other words, eating lots of sugar will continue to feel rewarding. In this way, sugar behaves a little bit like a drug. It's one reason people seem to be hooked on sugary foods. So think back to all those different kinds of sugar. Each one is unique, but every time any sugar is consumed, it kickstarts a domino effect in the brain that sparks a rewarding feeling. Too much too often, and things can go into overdrive. So yes, overconsumption of sugar can have addictive effects on the brain. But a wedge of cake once in a while won't hurt you.
So you see from this video that I just realized that we were not recording, were we?
Yes, we are recording.
Okay, good.
Yes. Just make
okay.
me co-host so I can mute some people, okay?
Okay, no problem. Let me do that now.
That is not exactly possible. Marjorie Jeffers, could you mute your phone, please?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been on for a while. She's been talking.
Marjorie Jeffers. Marie Jeffers. Dr. Selman, if you could mute her mic.
So
yeah.
I give Dr. Diet host, but now I cannot share.
Yeah, you shouldn't give me host. You should give me
no, I made you co-host.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what happened. Yeah.
All right, don't worry.
No problem.
Yeah.
So you can give me host. Just let me know when you give me host again.
Not till you. Yes,
Dr.
Dr.
Darla.
Nash. Dr. Nash, you are
Mhm.
actually the host currently, based on what I'm seeing in the participants. So, okay, good. Right.
Yeah, we're
She's giving
checking a
back.
little bit.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Good.
you so much. Right. So I was saying that we will see that sugar is addictive and it is considered like a drug. And that is why it's so important that when we are introducing our children to new foods, try to avoid the sugary foods as much as possible and give them water, fruits, vegetables. That is the preferred snack for the brain. I realize that, we think as adults, because it may not taste good to us, that for them, it may not taste good to them. But I want to assure you that their taste buds are now developing. And so they don't know nothing about no sugar, nor nothing. They just know the taste that is coming from the natural fructose in the fruit, as well as also the natural taste of the foods. So any person with um, newly not young kids, or even if someone is have a newborn, the best food for the brain is breastfeeding. And in most of all of my research, I've seen the benefits of breastfeeding to be beneficial for the brain as well. Stop sharing and go again. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Now, as we look at glucose and brain health, neurotransmitters cannot be produced with a lack of glucose cognitive function if the with a lack of glucose cognitive function is impaired. Hypoglycemia also would cause issues with that as well. High glucose can reduce the production of the BDNF, which is the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which assists in the connection of the synapses. Growth, development, and communication is impaired, leading to a decline in neurological functions. Diabetes in midlife was associated with a 19% greater cognitive decline over 20 years. Diabetes in midlife and cognitive over 20 years. So, and this was in the study Diabetes in Midlife and Cognitive Change over 20 years. Okay. Now, this is from information from the Hope Huntington's Outreach Project for Education at Stanford University. This is a support group, and they have done a lot of research and share information about the neurotrophic factors are a family of proteins that are responsible for the growth and survival of nerve cells during development and for the maintenance of adult nerve cells. Animal studies and test tube in vitro models have shown that certain neurotrophic factors are capable of making damaged nerve cells regenerate. Because of this capability, these factors represent exciting possibilities for reversing a number of devastating brain disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, Huntington's disease. The adult neuron is capable of recognizing its neural network by forming new connections. So researchers now are recognizing that the brain continues to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Neutropathic factors such as B, D, and F promote the survival and aid in the regeneration of adult nerve cells. So in the book, Lost Art of Thinking by Neil Nedley, he's looking at how you can boost the levels of BDNF levels. So you want to decrease your calorie intake by 30%. Regular exercise is also good to increase the BDNF levels. So you want your levels to be high. Short periods of fasting. I thought that this was really interesting. Attendees, this is a study that was done in Dr. Nedley's depression recovery program, and they had this was the 10-day residential program, and the attendees were overweight with depression, and they were on a supervised fast for up to 72 hours. At the end of the fast, many patients have remarked about how much the mental outlook has improved. And this was due to the elevation of the BDNF levels. What they also noted that was important is that levels begin to drop again for fast longer than 3 days. So what we would understand from this particular study with the Nedley program, depression program, is that you can fast up to 72 hours, up to 3 days. But after that, then your levels would start to drop. So if you want to improve your BDNF levels, you can fast for 3 days, but make sure that it's in this particular study, the fast was supervised. The other thing is linkages of lifestyle and Alzheimer's disease via the BDNF. The brain-derived neuropathic factors is the neurotropin that is most susceptible to lifestyle. Can you mute, please? There's some person who is speaking. I can't see who that person is, but can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. As demonstrated in animal studies, exercise and dietary balance appear to normalize the BDNF levels, which have been reduced to a high-fat diet. So a high-fat diet has also impacted on the levels of the BDNF. Regular exercise reduces the risk of developing dementia and Alzheimer's disease after the age of 65, which may be attributed to exercise-induced increase in the BDNF and improved brain function, both of which influence cognitive functions positively. So from here, we understand that a high-fat diet affects the levels, and also exercise will improve the levels. So that is what we learned from this here. Also, this is another study that was done in the frontiers, and they found that the Mediterranean diet, also the polyunsaturated fatty acids, polyphenols, and antioxidants, that's they're the ones that shows how you can help in enhancing and promoting a healthy brain. It also decrease inflammation and also increase insulin sensitivity. However, can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Alzheimer's disease lowers the BDNF, it increases inflammation, and it also decreases insulin sensitivity. And this is the Western diet. I mean, you always hear about the SAD diet, the Western diet that looks at all the processed foods, foods that are high in meats, foods that are high in calories, high in fat, and low in fruits and vegetables. These and also sedentary behavior. This also promotes lead to obesity, and also a sedentary lifestyle can cause Alzheimer's disease. So if you know that you're 65 now, and you want to get out there and start to exercise, you want to start to eat better, so that you can enhance your BD and PF levels. So what to do to improve your sugar consumption? This was United Brain Association. This is their suggestion that you pay attention to all types of sugar. That means that you pay attention to maple syrup, honey, sugar, and read your food labels. This is very important. Last week I was counseling a client, and I was showing them how the box looks really healthy on the front of the box. And then when you start to read the labels, you are seeing all of these different names. And just hold on a minute, I have it right here. Let me get it. So that has the ingredients is whole wheat flour. It has cane sugar. It has fig paste, brown rice syrup, blueberry jam, and then in brackets, the blueberry jam is made up of cane sugar, naturally milled sugar, rice starch, glycerin, blueberries, apple powder, natural flavors, pectin, citric acid, locust bean gum. And then it also has canola oil, it has whole wheat grains, glycerin, fruit juice. For color, sea salt. So the fruit juice also you will be getting fructose from there. Natural sugar, citric acid, and baking powder. So baking soda. So this was the ingredients. And when you look at the product, it looks really healthy from outside. So these are things that we have to pay attention to, so that we can improve our consumption of sugar. You want to cut out sweetened beverages, including juices, and use more fruits instead of having or use water, or you can infuse water. And this is something, so for instance, what I usually do, this is a simple bottle of water, but what I usually do is in the morning time, I would get some lemon, slice it, and put the lemon in the water. You can do it overnight. You can also add other types of fruit of your choice, because I know that there are some clients who tell me they don't like to drink water. Water doesn't have a good taste. So what you can do is infuse your water, and that way you will be able to get your hydration. You'll be hydrating your body, but you're also going to be getting some vitamin C also from the fruit when you drink the water. Be mindful of artificial sweeteners, and that's why it's so important to read your labels, to be able to look out for, spot those artificial sweeteners. You want to switch to healthy snacks and use fruits and vegetables. Exercise helps balance the negative impact of sugar. So that is one thing that you can do. And then alcohol, I know that we are talking to a Seventh-day Adventist audience, but I don't know who else may be on the call. But this is the evidence. This is what is stated on United Brain Association. Alcohol, a moderate amount, can raise your blood sugar. Too much can cause a dangerous drop. So this even goes for persons who may be diabetic. You want to be cautious of using alcohol, and you are a diabetic, because it would raise your blood sugar level. So there's something you want to pay attention to. Again, these are foods that impair the brain function. We always hear junk food. So persons, pizza, meats, your high consumption of meats, simple carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates would be your sodas and your pastries, all of these foods right here. White bread and crackers, the French fries. And sometimes, we say English potato is not good. Potato is not good for you, but it's not that the English potato is not good for you. Is what is made, what you're making from the English potato, which is the French fries or the potato chips. But if you use a big English potato with the skin, you will be getting your that way. And then these type of foods also they contain trans fat. So again, that's good for your heart, not good for your body. It's low in folate levels, low in serum B12, and also sometimes you don't have any clue of what would cause issues when you're ready. The role of arachidonic acid plays in brain inflammation could explain why eliminating chicken, fish, and eggs improves symptoms of depression and anxiety and stress within 2 weeks. And this was by Dr. Michael Greger. Again, enrich now, we are looking at how you can enrich your diet with omega-3s, fatty acids. So it's anti-inflammatory, whereas the meats are pro-inflammatory. So that's where you're going to have that increase in inflammation. Studies found that children who eat higher foods higher in omega-3s have improved learning, memory, and increased attention span when learning. Adolescents who eat foods higher in omega-3s also got better grades. And I know that we are coming up to exam time, and we have students or children in primary school and secondary school and even tertiary school who have to prepare for exams. And a friend of mine told me she's taking the exam this week. So I'm saying we always have to prepare our brains. We always have to make sure that we fuel our bodies with the right types of food that would enhance our brain function and help us to have better grades, learning, memory, those things that are beneficial for us. This is also signs and symptoms of low omega-3 deficiency, poor skin, hair, and nails. So your skin looks dry, your hair is easily plucked, and your nails, you can look at your nails and tell. Fatigue, joint pain, leg cramps, cardiovascular issues, poor circulation, poor memory, difficulty sleeping. So these are some of the things that we can improve on to help enhancing our brain function. Tryptophan is an amino acid. It is converted to 5-HTP to serotonin to melatonin to niacin. So this is a whole pathway. So these are the foods that's high in tryptophan. And I am just trying to go a little fast because I know our time is coming up. Tofu, flaxseed, black walnut, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, chia seeds. All of these are the foods that's high in tryptophan. Then we have the foods that's high in tyrosine. And I know lamb quarters, I'm just going to focus on this because I don't know if you know what it is, but this is the lamb quarters right here. It's a plant. It's a plant food. It's not protein. It's not animal protein. And these are the foods with the tryptophan. Now, what is interesting that we need ensure that we have a good amount of tryptophan and tyrosine in our diet. So I call them the twins. Those are the ones that need to be working together. Now, a carbohydrate-rich plant sources of nutrition are best at promoting the important raw materials needed to increase the levels of these neurotransmitters into the brain. So you have Massachusetts Institute of Technology researchers compared high carbohydrate meals to high protein meals. The high carbohydrate meals resulted in significantly better tryptophan and tyrosine ratios in the brain, averaging 54% and 28% respectively above the high protein meals. So carbohydrates are needed to get the tryptophan and the tyrosine into the brain. So a lot of times, we hear it is negative. Sometimes people speak negatively of carbohydrates, but we do need to have our complex carbohydrates. It is the simple carbohydrates where the problems are at. That is where is um that is where it's at. Just hold on a minute.
Okay. So while we are waiting and Mrs. Selman to come back on, I
I'm
hope you
back.
have been gathering some information so far for food for thought. And I'm seeing some people still writing where they are from. I'm seeing Florida just wrote. And so that's great. So continue to welcome all of you who are here. Continue, Mrs. Selman.
Thank you so much for your patience. In Okay, so these are foods now that are high in folate, which is essential for good brain health. And these are foods that we have in our pantry: black eyed peas, lentils, pinto beans, black beans, asparagus, mustard green, spinach, napa cabbage, arugula. And we can make so many different meals to incorporate the beans. We can make black beans in a salad. You can add raisins to it. You can make a lentil burgers. You can do a pinto bean stew. You can do black bean burgers or do a wrap with the black beans. So there's so many ways that we can incorporate these foods into our diets. This is iron. Again, we want to make sure that we are not deficient in iron. So, and you can see that you can get iron from so many types of foods if you're following a plant-based diet. If you're following a lacto-ovo vegetarian diet, you will still get your protein, your iron. Just remember that iron coming from non-heme iron coming from the plant foods is considered non-heme iron, and we will need to add our vitamin C to aid in the absorption of that particular food in the diet. That is something that you would want to pay attention to. So, in other words, if it is that you're going to have a salad and your salad consists of spinach, and you're going to have arugula, and you're going to have cucumber, and you can add some raisins in there, you have lettuce, you can add some cranberries, you can add orange, you can add uh, uh, grapes, whatever do you have that's high in vitamin C, and it will also aid in the absorption. And if you're having a salad, let's assume that you didn't make a salad or you just have a one pot meal, like a nice soup. You also can have just having a fruit with that meal. You can also get your vitamin C, which will aid in the absorption of the non-heme iron that's in the plant food. So just FYI on that. Other beneficial nutrients would be thiamine, That's necessary for optimal brain health. Also B6, which is needed to keep your blood levels of homocysteine in the original optimal range as necessary for the production of your neurotransmitters. The food sources with germs. So if you really think about it, if you were to follow just a plant-based diet, using your fruits, your vegetables, your legumes, and your peas and beans and your grown foods, you can get all the nutrients that your body needs. B12, B12 is found in yeast plates, nutritional yeast plates. Look for the one that says that is enriched with B12. And you can also get it from your Big Frank's, the Loma Linda brand. Also, the Total cereal, you can get it from all brand wheat, flakes, soy milk. And if you were to look at the levels here, 7.8 to 3, and as it, so nutritional yeast has the highest amount, and then the silk soy milk that has the lower amount, the lower micrograms of the B12, but then the beef, whole dairy, milk, and eggs, chicken, they have 1.4 micrograms. And fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains do not have any B12. So that gives you, unless that meal was fortified, unless it's like a process, like how the all bran and the whole grain total is processed, unless those are processed, they will have that amount in there. Again, again, when it comes to the vitamin C, vitamin D, we need to get vitamin D from our sunshine. We can get, research have shown, has linked long-term higher blood levels of vitamin C and beta carotene to better performance on tests of memory during old age. So here you can get vitamin C from a wide range of fruits and vegetables in abundance. The choline, you can also, is necessary for peak mental performance. So that's also very good. And to help in the metabolic process as well throughout the body. Again, you can get that from quinoa, spinach, lamb quarters, eggs, noodles, soy. So again, you can get it from the beets, your soybeans. So you can get it from your plant foods. Just eating a variety, just your 4 food groups and you can get them. And vitamin D, you can get that as well from fortified foods, and low levels associated with poor mood, impaired mental function, schizophrenia, and Alzheimer's disease. Research believe adequate levels of vitamin D influence cognitive function as well as promoting memory. So
Can you
there,
just
that's
hold a
another
little bit,
benefit.
please?
Can somebody mute their mic?
Anne-Marie White, can you mute your mic, please? Anne-Marie White, can you please mute your mic?
I'm trying. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was.
Thank you. This is the plant-based cheese that I produce, and it is suitable for, it is allergen-free, gluten-friendly, dairy-free, low-fat, zero cholesterol, high fiber, low sodium. So it's suitable for persons with any chronic disease. It's low calorie as well, and it's suitable for vegans because of the formulation. It contains B12. And you can use it to make macaroni pie, to season up in your stew, dip some vegetables, crudités, salad dressings with your veggies, spread on a wrap as a topping on your entree. So sometimes, like I told you about Daddy and having his sweet potato, that was one thing that he would do. And this is, Dr. Diet wanted me to do a practical presentation. So this is the practical presentation at this time, cooking a demo. And I want to thank Kelly D for allowing me to use
I'm Kelly
the
D,
video.
and I'm really excited about today's show because we have a special guest. She's a dietitian, a health educator for over 20 years, and the founder of Kind. Esther Selman. Welcome, Esther.
Hello, thank you for having me on your
It is a pleasure having you here. Now, today we are going to be making an energizing smoothie, energizing drink. It is great for gym enthusiasts,
Yes.
health, persons who are health conscious. So I'm gonna just step back and allow her to tell you all about Kind and about all of these wonderful ingredients that you see displayed here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on the show. I am so excited. And today we are going to be talking about an energizing smoothie. Now, when we think about energy and wanting to have that much movement in the body, you want, because some people are feeling lethargic.
Yes.
So we need to use the energy foods. And
Yes.
here we have a plethora of different foods that can provide energy. So I'm going to start here first. The oats. And carbohydrates, they get complex carbohydrates. And the carbohydrates are our energy foods. So that's where you want to start with.
What I always love about oats is when you think about horses that forever on the garrison running and always, and they're using oats.
Yes,
so they're getting energy from someplace. So we need to get that energy too. So oats is perfect.
Oats is good. Now we have apples, and again, apples are power packed with fiber, vitamins, and it has the soluble fiber. So persons who is diabetic, they can use this.
Right.
If it is that you have issues with cholesterol or heart disease or anything like that, it's power packed with that soluble fiber that is good at reducing your cholesterol. So hence the reason why we have our apples. For those persons you spoke about, persons who are not in the gym and exercising and stuff, we have the bananas. Bananas have the potassium.
Yes.
So then this could be an energy boosting drink for those persons either after the gym, after an exercise, or something like that. And then we have our chia seeds, which is our natural fats.
Yes.
So these are high in omega-3. So you want to ensure that you have those. And we have natural sweeteners. So we have cranberries, as well as we also have a mixture of dried fruit. The dried apricots, pineapple, raisins. So we have a mixture there.
Yes.
And then we have watermelon. Again, powerful nutrient in there, lycopene, which is protective from men with prostate cancer.
Men, I hope you're listening. You need to get your watermelon.
That's it. So you want to get your reds. Again, strawberries as well also contain the lycopene.
Yes.
So that's going to be protective for the body. And we have our mango. And mango I love it. And it has such a nice tarty, sweet taste. But again, power pack, it has vitamin C, it has the antioxidants that our body needs. And then we have our sweet potato.
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato. We're talking about energy. We're talking about energy. And what was interesting is I was at the supermarket today.
Yes.
And a lady was talking to, the cashier was talking to a young lady, and she recognized that she was an athlete. So she was saying, well, you need to be using those foods that Usain Bolt uses.
Okay.
And I know that, and she told her grown foods.
Yes.
And there you go.
Potato.
Sweet potato.
But I can understand sweet potato, eating it as well, savory. Yeah. But you're using your sweet potato.
Yes.
I can't wait to taste it. Go on, let's hear what else we have.
And then we also have, I rehydrated the cranberries in the almond milk. So today we're using almond milk. You can use any plant milk.
Yes.
So, but I'm using almond milk today. So I rehydrated the cranberries in there, so we get all the natural sweetness
Wonderful.
Going into the smoothie. And we also have cashews. Again, cashews are the good healthy fats. So you want to ensure that you have healthy fats and protein. So we're making a good protein in the shake, as well as we also have almonds, the slivered almonds.
Yeah, we always say that nuts are like slow releasing energy, so you can use some of these nuts and it will give you energy for a long time. Rather than this quick high burst and then gone. It just slowly just keeps giving you and giving you.
Exactly.
So it always includes nuts when it comes to a protein.
Yes.
High powered energy drink.
And they also contain fiber, and you can see that we still have the skin on
Yes.
the almonds. So again, and then we have our coconut, which is also it's a fat, and also it also gonna give you that extra energy as well. So just a little bit. Don't use too much because it's very high in saturated fat. So persons, who need to watch your weight or any cholesterol issues, you will want to limit the coconut. And then again, we come back around full circle. So there you have it, and there we're gonna.
One thing I'm seeing here when we're talking about energy, they're all fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
You're not going outside to get something. Sometimes
No.
people use protein powder.
Yes.
Protein powder is good,
Mhm.
but we're not using protein powder today.
No.
We're using the chia
All
seeds as
natural.
replacement.
Yes.
Natural fruits and
We're using the
vegetables.
chia seeds, we're using the almonds, you also
To get that
yes,
protein,
and
so-
we're also using the cashews, and also in the watermelon. You know, the watermelon have its own natural seeds.
Yes.
Again, that's another protein source. So that's seeds are also some of the seeds are also there.
The seeds are in the watermelon.
Yeah. So so you know, so you're getting your
I
protein.
am excited. I can't wait. So let's get started.
As I pour in. Now the thing with it is that measurements. A lot of times when I'm making these smoothies, people ask me about measurements, how much you're using, and for me, it just imagine how many people you're preparing for, right? So this is our hydrated milk with our cranberries.
And
So
I
we're
know
putting
that you're
in there.
also using a Vitamix. When it comes to making a smoothie, a Vitamix is the preferred instrument of choice.
It is the preferred instrument. Now I'm using my brown oats, and some persons like their smoothies to have a little thickness, but I like my smoothie to, you know, to have that nice smooth texture.
Okay.
So hence the reason why I'm going to be using the powder. Yeah, I'm going to be using the powder.
So if you had only the rolled oats, can you go ahead and make the
Yes.
ground oat flour on your own? As
Yes,
opposed to
you
getting
can.
it?
Just put it in the blender, right? In a dry blender. Yes, you can do that. Just put it in a
So
dry blender.
if
and
you
you're good to go.
prefer to have your oats with the powder, you can make it at home.
Yes.
Just get your oats in the blender.
That's
If
all.
you have a
Yeah.
Vitamix, that's better.
Mhm.
But if you don't, just put it in the blender that
Just
you
put it
have,
in the blender.
and you will get that powder-like consistency, which
Yes.
is great.
So that's a good way. Another thing you can also do is to just because the oats, you know, the rolled oats may be a little harder. What you can do is to just add them to the milk, like how I added the cranberries to the milk. So you can do that too as well. All right? Yeah.
All right.
All right. So we're gonna add our coconut.
So there is an order to this. There is an order to this.
Yes. And the thing about it is, what I like about this type of smoothie, it's a complete meal.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be getting my my food. You're getting all of your food in the smoothie.
Completely balanced.
It's completely balanced. Yes, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you're good to go. So you don't have to worry. Yeah. I like the color.
Yes.
So it's always good for us to add color. So if today I'm using strawberries, then I can use golden apple. And we try to incorporate on
Yes.
carving
And
food.
things are
Exactly. Things are seasonal. Yeah, exactly. So that is what I'm using.
Now
And
on to my favorite.
delish. So we're adding,
Awesome.
yes. So I'm adding my mangoes here. And you know, with kids, we often say kids do not like to eat fruits, and they're not getting them. It's a fantastic way you can get your kids to eat.
Put everything into
Just
the
put it in
blender.
a blender.
Yep.
And you know what? You can then make it into a popsicle. Make it into
And
ice
yeah,
block.
just make it.
They don't realize that.
They're getting
And
everything
they
that
don't
they're
realize
supposed to get.
exactly. And they don't realize that they're getting everything that they need. And now for the star ingredients.
The sweet
potato.
This is
And
gonna
it
be
has
so
the
filling.
skin on, so we're getting our fiber.
Yes. This is going to be so filling.
It is. Let me tell you, you can have this, and then you can with your meal. You can have it for
Just
breakfast.
asking Leanza and Jules to
Just
mute,
consider Dr.
please.
Flynn at the gym. Is this something that I can take before I go to the gym, or should I take it when I come back?
You can eat.
Either way can work.
Either way can work.
Yeah.
Now, if it is that you're going to be having it, let's say, for instance, as a meal, and you're going to the gym, you can have it to drink before the gym, like 2 hours before, because you still have to think about the digestive system.
Yeah.
And digestion takes 4 hours.
Okay.
So at least around 2.5 hours before
So
you
going
go
to
to
the
the gym.
gym.
And then when you come back up from the gym, then you can also add these, because have the smoothie, because why? You are going to be getting your potassium, you're going to be boosting back your energy.
Yes.
Right. So this is also
This
another
is
way.
perfect. So those persons who are into the gym,
Yes.
this is perfect for you.
Perfect for you. So now we're going to blend. did we turn it on? It's all plugged in and ready to go. Awesome. Our TV all done, ready to go. Look at that color. Look at the
Look
body.
at
All the color, all the body and everything. There we go. This is for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. And this is your straw
I
man.
can't believe I'm drinking sweet potato. This looks like it could serve at least 4 persons.
It
You
can
know, like
serve.
it could
Yes,
serve
this
about
can form
4 persons.
at least 6 persons, 6 to 8.
Wow,
Mhm, 6 to
okay.
8. And the reason I'm saying that because normally a serving is 8 ounces.
Okay.
So which is a cup.
Mhm.
So and this is like it already up right up to here.
Yeah,
So it's
okay,
already
okay,
7
okay.
cups. So like 7, 6.
Yeah.
Depends on the person.
Okay.
Yes. So cheers.
Let's taste. Mmm. And you didn't add any sugar.
No sugar.
There was no sugar,
No sugar.
and I can taste the sweetness
Mhm.
coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what the raisins and the
That
cranberries.
is the cranberries. We just use. I don't think I use this mixture.
Yeah.
So I don't use that. So
Cranberries,
just the
and
cranberries
maybe the
I added.
mangoes too, because
The
mangoes.
mango that we also use some of the strawberries, the watermelon, apple, banana, and the thing about it is do not throw away your bananas. Do not throw them away because when your banana is getting ripe, just break it and freeze it singularly, and then put them in a Ziploc bag, and you can have them to make your smoothies for future, right?
Which is a great tip, not only when it comes to bananas, but like
Mhm.
the mangoes at this time.
Yes,
It's
yes.
very difficult
Mango,
to find
red
mangoes at this time. A lot of mangoes on the market. I suggest you get some and freeze them for future
right,
use.
for future use, exactly.
Because now we can use mango year round.
Now I want to show you something.
Mm-hmm.
And with the watermelon, we tend to peel this,
Yeah.
and we tend to peel here and just eat right here.
Yes.
But this is the fiber. So from here in is where you will find the fiber of the watermelon.
Mhm.
So we want to
Everything.
everything.
Like
What
we
we
said,
did
the best
also,
part is close to the skin.
right to the skin. So we're peeling right here. You just wash the skin really good and dice it and put it. Yeah,
Put it in.
put it in.
Everything going in.
Everything going in. Yes,
Root
ma'am.
to tip. We're using
Root-
seeds.
that's
we're
right,
using skin. We're
everything.
using everything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's my final slide. Dr. Natalie says, better food will not only give you a better mood, it will give you a better brain. So you want to make sure that we eat a variety of foods that are power packed with nutrition. You have seen that some things overlap. We have seen wheat germ in the vitamin E. We've seen wheat germ and other food, other amino acids, that's vitamins that's necessary. So just eating a little bit of each and a variety. It's important to have a variety of foods, and we will be able to enhance our brain health and you're able to have good food for thought. And this is a program that I'm doing. If some persons want to transition over to, makeover to plant-based diet, I'm conducting a program. The dates may change, but I'm conducting a program to help persons to simply move towards a plant-based diet in 21 days, enjoy more energy, and have better health and happiness. Discover the scientific benefits of eating healthy to improve your health, that is diabetes, weight management, as well as heart disease. And delicious and healthy meal plan, we're making over your shopping cart, your pantry, and your favorite recipes. Thank you. That's my last slide. That's my contact information. So that's my last slide. I want to thank very much Dr. Diet on behalf of the team for inviting me to come and speak with you all this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Selman, for sharing with us, giving us food for thought and also food for thinking or brain. So it was a bit, it wasn't just a narrow approach. It wasn't just about the brain. It was also about different aspects of health as well. And we appreciate that and we thank you. We gained quite a bit. I think there are a few questions around, and I will pass you over to Dr. Buckmeyer or Dr. Nash, who would be able to facilitate those questions, and hopefully you'll be able to address them. Thanks once again for the presentation and the information we gathered as a result.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much, Mrs. Selman, for your presence with us this evening. And I'm just directing us to the chat once more. The first question was asked, can watermelon be used with other fruits? Can watermelon be used with other fruits?
Yes, watermelon can be used with other fruit. I'm thinking that there may be more behind that question. So, but yes, watermelon can be used.
Okay, so the person that would have placed this question in the chat, can you perhaps add some more context to your question, please?
I was told, this is Ruth Colby, I was told that melons should be eaten separately. The melons, I don't know how the process break down certain things and sort of other foods wouldn't be as beneficial. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what I was always told. So when I have melons, I don't so I'm not, that's why I'm asking the question.
It was a little soft.
I was
And
not
then
hearing.
we have
I was not
someone.
hearing.
Yes, and we have somebody whose mic is on as well. So I guess it's Miss Waldron Scobie that needs to repeat, but somebody else needs to mute. Ruth Waldron Scobie, you'll repeat, but there is Alyssa's tab needs to, okay, good. All right, so go ahead again with the question.
Yeah, I was told once upon a time, a few years back, that the melons, like the muskmelon, the cantaloupe, the watermelon, those should be eaten separately or together as melons. Something about in the digestive process, like it helps it breaks down, or the other fruits that you combine it with is not as beneficial. So I'm not sure as to in terms of what the scientific aspect of that is. So I'm just wondering and asking the question so in order to get a better understanding of what is what.
Okay, in my studies, I have not come across that or any evidence to support that. So I don't know where you would have received that information from. As far as I know, in all my studies and research, I've never come across that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so if there are some persons on the platform, especially from the team, who may have come across that question, because some of us have heard it before, would you want to share some of your thoughts on it? For example, if Dr. Nash is on, maybe you can shed some light if she's there.
Hi, everyone. When it comes to watermelon, say, for example, individuals who would, decide on having watermelon for breakfast and say watermelon, probably adding mangoes or bananas to make like a fruit bowl. You find that the watermelon, because of the high water content, tends to be digested quite quickly. So it is preferable to have that item sort of like going in first. Then you have the other fruits coming in, and that has more fiber, a different, say a mango, for example, the fiber structure is being a little bit different from that of the watermelon. So when it comes to the mixtures of certain fruits, we extend a bit of caution, especially if individuals have digestive issues. It is better if they eat those items, sort of like what I would call a mono plate. So you do singular items as opposed to combining them, because in that way you may have some delay in digestion and have continued discomfort. So while you're healing and so forth, it's better to have those mono items. So as Dr. Sister Selman said, that it's a broad answer, because I can go on to share other aspects of watermelon, especially, and I'd say if you had that, then what we would recommend is that you give a 15-minute spacing before you eat your solid foods, simply because of the higher water content. Bringing in the solid foods too soon could, work in your system as if you're eating and drinking. So all of those are factors to consider when we are bringing watermelon to the table. And again, watermelon, if you had of the same family type like cantaloupe, for example, or honeydew, it makes it easier for digestion as compared to bringing it in with other types of fruits.
Thank you, Dr. Nash. And so we recognize a major situation would be the water content, but just know that your body is so wonderfully made. It's not that there would not be digestion. And so sometimes if it's not overdone and things are done in moderation and you don't have a whole big bowl of watermelon along with other things, but if you have some smaller amounts of things every now and then, it shouldn't cause a major problem. But certainly the high water content is very different from some of the other fruits. So thank you, Dr. Nash. What are some of the other questions, Dr. Buckmeyer?
Okay, good evening again. So there's another question in terms of your dietary recommendations, Mrs. Selman, for someone living with stage 4 lung cancer. Do you have any recommendations for someone with that level of health?
If some person has stage 4 cancer, you would want them to use the foods that are high in antioxidants and phytonutrients, also whole grains, as well as low fat, but the good healthy fats. But to give I'm always cautious to give general information, because I really don't know what else is going on with the client. So for instance, the client may be diabetic, or they may have lupus or Crohn's, or something else may be going on medically with that particular client. But rule of thumb, once you are using your phytonutrients, you're getting your antioxidants in, you're getting your whole grains, your ground foods, your good complex carbohydrates, you're getting your peas and beans, your lentils, those should be beneficial. And then you also have your herbs and spices that are beneficial, like garlic and turmeric, that you would want to incorporate, your ginger, But like I said, I don't know. This is just a general information for that particular client.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And the question goes in a similar vein. Thanks for the information so far. Which foods will you recommend for osteoarthritis?
Osteoarthritis would be an anti-inflammatory diet. So again, just using more fruits and vegetables. I know um, the same principle applies where you would want to still, for me, I like to find out a little bit more about my client, but just as a rule of thumb, you just want to make sure that you follow your fruits and vegetables, you're more of a plant-based diet, because fruits and vegetables, those are very protective for the body. So you will want to make sure that you incorporate those more into the diet.
May I add
Mhm.
that green leafy vegetables are especially important when you come to that, and being anti-inflammatory and so on. So those can be focused on and emphasized in the diet. And we can also look at some of those important whole grains, as you mentioned, and so on. And so these are very useful. We have to look for sources that would provide adequate calcium as well. And those green leafy vegetables are useful. Nuts, various nuts play an important part where that is concerned as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. The video, one of them, the second one, was not as clear as we would have liked in terms of getting the information. And so we believe that your YouTube channel link was placed in the chat. But I'd like you to tell us a little more about your YouTube channel so that we can continue to follow you and support you virtually. So could you share a
You're
little
talking about
more
the
about
video with
that?
the recipe?
Yes, with the drink.
Okay, that was not mine. That's not my channel. That is Kelly D. She was doing a presentation. She's on every Sunday, and she asked me to come on her show and to do the energizing smoothie. So that is what I did. So um, but if you wanted to reach out to me personally, you can always, I can put my information in the chat, and my email, and just go to my website, www.cand.service.com. But I can put the
Write
information
your
in the chat.
website. Write the
Yeah,
website URL.
I'll put it in the chat. I'll put it in the chat. And I will also put the link to, I will try to get the link to the video and put that in the chat as well. So I will do that.
Okay, that's wonderful. Do we have any other questions? You can, now is a great time to just raise your hand if you have a burning question for Mrs. Selman. It seems that everything may have been quite clear, so no questions. But could you tell us a little bit more about the role of the BNDF and how that would improve our brain functioning?
The role of,
The BNDF?
oh, that is, okay, that is to help in increasing if we get our levels up. So like I was sharing, once you exercise, once you lower the fat intake in your diet, once you, I'm talking and I'm trying to also look for the link at the same time to give it to you. Once you, okay, let me do this. Right, so once you follow a low-fat diet, exercise, eat a healthy diet, which would be consistent of your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, exercise, um, because they have found that when you exercise, it helps in increasing the levels. When you follow a healthy diet, it also increases the levels and increases your sensitivity, and also it reduces your inflammation. So those were some of the things that you can do to help in increasing your BDNF levels. I am going to put the link in the chat now. This is the link to the video, as well as my website and my contact information, my email address and everything.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Selman. We
You're
have
welcome.
another question that was placed in the chat. Do raw vegetables cause gas? I find when I eat fresh salads, I get a lot of gas. Please clarify.
Okay, every person's system is made up differently. And I remember when, I think it was Dr. Nash, when we were talking about the watermelon, you would have mentioned that there are some persons who may have like gastroesophageal reflux disease. Those persons would need to follow a uh, low-fat diet, avoid spicy foods. Watermelon is actually one of the foods that are kinder on the GI because of the fact that they are watery. So watermelon, all the melon family, you want to avoid spicy foods, you want to avoid citrus foods. And the reason I'm going that route, because when it comes now to following the diet, you want to make sure that you follow that same pattern as it relates to the raw vegetables. Um, there are some persons, if because they have a sensitivity, they may have I don't want to say a weak stomach, but may have a sensitivity to using those raw foods. Then you may need to just steam them lightly for 2 to 3 minutes. And for me, when I have a client like that, I usually put them on an elimination diet so that I be able to monitor what they're eating, what reaction is occurring, and how we can improve on that sensitivity that is occurring at that particular time. So for the raw, the person who is experiencing the gas, I that would be my recommendation, because you want to check to see if when you were eating the gas, if you had peas and beans, because peas and beans, either in the salad or even if you had them as part of the meal, that can also be contributory to having the gas. Now, the thing about it is that it has to do also with the preparation of the particular food. So let's say, for instance, you had beans in that salad. You will want to soak your beans overnight and pour off that water and then get fresh tap water and prepare the item. Another thing, the more peas and beans that you eat, the more your body get adjusted to the peas, to consuming the peas and beans. The other thing is, there are some persons who say add baking soda to the water. It is beneficial, it's helpful to some persons. So every person's body, like I say, we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and every person's system is made up a little different. I hope that was helpful.
I do want to add that depending on the type of fresh greens, or raw salad, you know, cruciferous vegetables, for example, like cabbage, they tend to be a little more gaseous than some other types. And so it depends. It depends on what persons are using.
And that's why I say sensitivity, because I would use that and not have a problem. But then some person else would use it and have a problem with the cruciferous vegetables, which is the leafy greens, the arugula in that family. You have the cauliflower, you have broccoli. So, so you have a range of gassy type foods, but it may means, like I said, looking at how you prepare them. If it is, you find that when you use the broccoli and the broccoli is raw, you get gas, but then you will realize, okay, if I use the broccoli and I steam it lightly, I don't have the gas. So you have to work and play and try to see what best your body can tolerate at that particular time with that meal, with the meal that you're having at that time.
And may I also just interject here too, the importance of working on that gut and sort of healing and sealing that gut lining. A lot of folks have leaky gut. And here at the center, I've seen where individuals, you know, they eat a meal and immediately they start passing gas or belching or something like that. And you recognize the allergic reaction. Not just an allergic reaction, but the effect on the gas, and if not immediately, within about 2 to 3 hours. And so what we do, just watch that food, remove it, work on them using probiotics, digestive enzymes, and you know, as they improve on their health practices with the walking, you know, because you could be using all of these add additional stuff, and if you're not exercising, it doesn't work well. So you know, and getting a sleep early, and as their gut health improves, they're able to tolerate some of that. So just as you mentioned, the elimination of the certain foods that are the triggers, give the system a break, give it a rest, work on building up the system, and then bringing it back in. But I've had folks who would talk about those veggies, and especially if they had it raw, their stomach or abdomen, you know, really by the time it gets to that small intestines, it's like pain. And so, you know, you got to work with them over time, and everyone is unique. You know, there's no one fix for across the board. And a lot of testing, and of course there are certain foods that from clear out, you know, you would pull out from the system. But eventually it is something that can overcome. Sometimes folks are poor in the stomach acid, and there is where you get the beans issues to digest the food. So yep, a lot of those things for consideration.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nash. Do we have any additional questions as we wrap up? I would just, as you think about that, I would just like to direct you to Mrs. Selman's website, www.kindservice.com. kindservice.com, and her email address info for the number 4 sindservice.com.
At Gmail. I made the correction. I sent in a correction.
Oh my.
CIND service at gmail.com, and CIND is pronounced kind. CIND is pronounced kind.
Okay. So kindservice at gmail.com. Thank you. At gmail.com. Thank you for that correction. Okay, and so we will take this last question for the evening. What can we eat for the bones? to strengthen our bones?
Well, calcium, you'll want to use calcium to strengthen your bones. So the calcium-rich foods, for those persons who you may be following a lacto ovo vegetarian diet, so you'll be getting your dairy or non-dairy. If it is that you're following plant-based, you can use your non-dairy foods. And in addition to that, you can also use your leafy greens that would have the calcium. You can also use yogurt. Yogurt is another food that you can use to incorporate into your diet to help to get your calcium in your diet. Um, just eating if you use like sardines, they say the bones, using the bones also you can get calcium from there as well, so that you can ensure so I don't know what your diet is, if your diet is plant-based or if it is lacto-ovo. You can also use your fortified foods, and you want to look to see, read the labels to see which foods are rich in calcium. Also, you have your peas and beans, your cans, peas and beans. Those are also foods. You also have salmon, so your fish. You can get your calcium that way, your soybeans, your bok choy. So you can get calcium from a variety of foods. And I do want to add here that it is always best to come to these forums to gain information. But when you want a personalized dietary advice, it's always best to meet with the dietitian so that they can guide you. We can do an assessment to see how you're eating, and also we can help you to be able to ensure that you're meeting your nutritional needs. So I always like to advise, because when I give information, it is general, but I know a lot of times clients have other issues going on, so that when I do an assessment, a dietary assessment, it helps me to be able to determine what it is that is happening with the individual, and then I can plan a customized personalized meal plan for them. So just FYI, just letting you know that that is the best approach. Always meet. Good to come to the general session, but it's always best for personalized um, dietary guidance to sit or set up an appointment to meet with a dietitian.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mrs. Salman. And again, we can meet, we can schedule that personalized appointment by emailing Mrs. Salman at infoforkindservice@gmail.com. There's a last comment. Calcium together with magnesium helps with the absorption in the bones. And certainly we know green leafy vegetables as well as our nut milks will contribute the calcium, the magnesium, and some of the other trace minerals that we need to strengthen our bones. And certainly we need to be out in the sun and experience the development of vitamin D in our system for the uptake of the calcium. So do you have any closing thoughts for us? Any parting thoughts, Mrs. Salman,
Well,
after this rich sharing?
I just want to share my favorite text, which is from 3rd John 2, and it says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that we may prosper and be in health, even as our soul prospereth." So, and this is our guide or admonition or counsel from um, the Lord. And my hope and wish is that we all seek to enhance in some way we all seek to enhance our lifestyle and remember that our bodies are the temple of God, and we need to ensure that if Christ is dwelling in us, then we give him the best body that he has given to us.
Amen. Amen. And so before we give our final prayer, I'm inviting the president of AHPA Tobago chapter. Can you share with us the topic for next month's presentation?
Good evening, everyone. So Dr. Waldron is here, and so he will share with us. Dr. Waldron is over.
Yes. Hi. All right. So for our next AHPA meeting, we'll be focusing on physical therapy. We have a physiotherapist with us, and the topic we're dealing with is the healing process as it relates to physical therapy. All right. So you'll be looking at healing process and physical therapy. We'll see you guys next month.
Wonderful. So we look forward to seeing each one of you and to have Mrs. Selman join us as well.
I was about to tell you to send me the link. Don't forget to send me the link.
Definitely, we will. Thank you again, Mrs. Selman, for your presence with us this evening. And we look forward to seeing each one of you at next month's AHPA Healing Platform, where we will be speaking to physiotherapy and healing. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we praise you and we thank you for taking full control this evening. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to reflect on food and how it impacts our mind and our thinking, our brain, and hence, as we know, the entire body. Please, we seek your continued protection, not just of us, but our families as well as we enter into this new week. Please move forward into the new week for us, we pray, as we surrender ourselves afresh, moment by moment, to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Do have a pleasant good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Esther.
Hi, hello. Hi, Dr. Maris.
Very good. I'm doing well.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Do we have access to the recording, please?
Yes, we will be.
And we need to end it. It's still
We need to stop
recording.
the recording.
Let me end it.
So the same method that the invitation went out, you will also receive a link to the recording.
Oh, they told me permission is needed. Y'all close it off. They say permission is needed from the meeting host. So y'all
Who
may
is
need
the
to stop
host now?
Y'all may need to start the recording from your end.
Dr. Buckmeyer, you are the host.
Okay, so I'll end it. Thank you.
It was nice meeting you all.